1. We're checking out this absolutely wicked 1977 Ford F-150 Pro Street that's popped up on Craigslist. And let me tell you, this is no ordinary classic pickup. This beast has been with the same owner for 34 years, and you can tell it's been a real labor of love. Under the hood, you're looking at a professionally built 400M pushing out 400 horsepower and 468 lb-ft of torque. That's some serious muscle. The engine's got all the good stuff: ported and polished heads, an 850 dual pump, and a CompCam Xtreme Energy Cam. There's even a 100 GP nitrous system that's never been used. Talk about keeping something in your back pocket. The transmission is a stock C6 with a 2500 stall converter and shift kit, and it's running a 373 rear gear, though the original 410 comes with it. With just 87,000 original miles and only about 2,000 miles on the rebuilt engine, this truck has been babied and mainly used for shows. Now, let's talk condition. The silver paint job is 30 years old, but still holding up really well. The interior is remarkably preserved with the original seat and dash, plus new carpet and door panels. There's only one spot of rust on the right rear wheel well, which is incredibly impressive for a 46-year-old truck. The owner's been diligent with undercoating to keep the frame solid. It sits on brand new Cooper Cobras all around, with fresh USA Indy slotted wheels, 7 inches front, 10 inches rear, and comes with an extra set of rear wheels mounted with Hoosier slicks for track days. There's even a custom rear wing that mounts to the tailgate brackets. 2. We're looking at a 1979 Ford Ranchero that's listed for $9,000. Unfortunately, the seller hasn't provided much detail in their listing, which is always a bit concerning when you're looking at a classic vehicle like this. What we do know is that it's showing 57,000 miles on the odometer, has an automatic transmission, runs on gas, and comes with a clean title. The listing is pretty bare bones, which makes it hard for me to give you a thorough rundown of what you're getting for your money. Being honest with you all, I'd strongly recommend asking the seller for more information before making any moves. You'd want to know about the engine condition, any rust issues, these Rancheros were prone to it, the interior state, and whether that 57K mileage is original. Also, it would be crucial to know if there's any maintenance history available. The '79 Ranchero was the final year of production for this iconic car-truck hybrid, which makes it historically significant. But without more details about this specific example's condition, modifications, or history, it's tough to say whether $9,000 is a fair asking price. If you're interested in this piece of Ford history, definitely reach out to the seller for more photos and information. Always remember to inspect any classic car in person before making a decision. 3. We're checking out this 1985 Ford F-350 Crew Cab Dually that's popped up on Craigslist, and honestly, this one's a pretty interesting find. Let's talk about what we've got here. It's a big boy with the mighty 460 cubic inch V8 engine, that's 7.5 liters for you metric folks, paired with an automatic transmission. The seller's claiming 65,000 miles, which is surprisingly low for a truck of this age. Being a crew cab dually, this was basically the biggest, baddest civilian truck Ford offered in '85. The seller states it's been stored inside, which is a huge plus for these older vehicles, and they've recently added a fresh bedliner. The white paint appears to be in good shape from what we can tell, and it's eligible for historic tags, which could be a nice bonus depending on your state's regulations. Now let's talk about that $26,500 asking price. It's definitely on the higher end for an '85 F-350, even in excellent condition. While these trucks are becoming increasingly collectible, especially clean, low-mileage examples, you'll want to do a thorough inspection to verify the condition and mileage claims. The listing is pretty brief, which leaves some questions unanswered. I definitely want to know more about maintenance history, whether that 460 has ever been rebuilt, and if there's any rust hiding anywhere. These old Fords were known to have some rust issues. 4. We're looking at a 1966 Ford F-100 4X4, and let me be straight with you about this classic pickup that's asking $14,500. This is an interesting one. It's packing a 352 V8 engine that's been rebuilt, with only 3,000 miles on the rebuild, paired with a 4-speed manual transmission. That 352 is a solid FE series engine from Ford's golden era, and having a manual transmission makes it a more engaging drive. Being a 4x4 model makes it even more desirable, as these weren't as common back then. Now, let's be honest about a few things here. The seller admits it needs a gas tank, which is something you'll have to factor into your budget. They're also upfront about not knowing the total mileage, which is pretty common for vehicles of this age. The listing describes it as being in good condition, but doesn't provide much detail about the body, interior, or undercarriage condition. The description is pretty bare bones, which leaves a lot of questions unanswered. You definitely want to ask about rust. These old Fords were prone to it. The condition of the 4x4 system, and whether there's any history on the truck before pulling the trigger at $14,500. If you're interested in this piece of Ford truck history, I'd strongly recommend seeing it in person and getting a thorough look underneath. The gas tank issue needs to be addressed, but that's relatively straightforward compared to potential rust or mechanical problems that aren't mentioned in the listing. 5. We're checking out a pretty interesting piece of Dodge history. A 1978 Dodge W10 pickup that's listed for $18,900. This short bed two-door pickup comes with the classic 318 V8 engine, that's 5.2 liters for you younger folks, with a 4-barrel carburetor and an automatic transmission. Being a W10, it's got 4-wheel drive, which makes it a pretty desirable classic truck. The odometer shows 33,954 miles. But since the miles are listed as exempt on the title, we can't verify if those are original miles. The truck wears a two-tone green and white paint job with a matching green interior. It's equipped with power steering and power brakes, which were nice options to have back in '78. Now let's be real here. This is being sold by a dealer, and that $18,900 price tag doesn't include tax, title, and fees, so you're looking at a bit more out the door. The listing is pretty light on details about the truck's condition, restoration history, or any potential issues. There are no mentions of rust, which these old Dodges were known for, mechanical condition, or whether any restoration work has been done. Since this is a dealer sale, you'll definitely want to do a thorough inspection. These W10s are getting harder to find, especially in good condition, but make sure to check all the usual trouble spots. Frame rails, bed corners, cab corners, and make sure that 318 is running as it should. 6. We're looking at a sweet 1976 Ford F250 Camper Special that's tugging at my heartstrings a bit, especially given the seller's honest admission about having to part with it due to family needs. This is a pretty clean example of Ford's heavy-duty offering from the 70s, and it's got some really nice features to talk about. Under the hood, you'll find a rebuilt 390 V8. That's one of Ford's legendary FE series engines that's known for its torque and reliability. It's paired with a rebuilt 3-speed automatic transmission, so you've got fresh mechanicals in the drivetrain department. What's really catching my attention here is that this truck is wearing its original orange paint, which the seller says is very clean. That's pretty remarkable for a 47-year-old work truck. The odometer shows 55,027 miles, and being a camper special means it came with some extra goodies from the factory like heavier-duty suspension components. At $9,500, and they're open to offers, this seems pretty fair for a clean, running camper special with rebuilt mechanicals. These trucks are increasingly popular with collectors, and finding one with original paint that isn't completely worn out is getting harder every year. You can feel the seller's reluctance to let this one go, which often means it's been well cared for. While the listing doesn't mention any specific issues, you'd still want to check the usual spots for rust, cab corners, bed mounts, frame rails, and verify the rebuild's documentation. 7. We're looking at a 1973 Dodge pickup that's caught my eye with its straightforward $4,000 asking price. And let me give you the honest scoop on this classic. This is a two-wheel drive model powered by Dodge's reliable 318 V8 engine, 5.2L, which is actually one of the better points about this truck. These engines are known for their durability and are pretty simple to work on. The seller mentions it's got a new carburetor and has had a tune-up, which is good news for potential buyers. With 120,000 miles on the clock, that's actually reasonable mileage for a truck of this age. The truck wears blue paint and comes with a manual transmission, which makes it a more engaging drive than its automatic counterparts. The seller's description is pretty bare bones, simply stating it runs good and is in good shape. But at this price point, that's kind of what you'd expect. Let's be real here. For $4,000, you're looking at a basic working classic truck. The brief description leaves a lot of questions unanswered about rust, which these old Dodges were notorious for, interior condition, and any other mechanical needs. You'll definitely want to check all the usual trouble spots: cab corners, bed mounts, frame rails, and floor pans. 8. We're checking out a pretty sweet 1966 Chevrolet El Camino that's listed for $17,900. And let me tell you, this one's worth talking about. What we've got here is a southeastern car-truck hybrid, always good news when it comes to rust, powered by a 327 V8, paired with a TH350 automatic transmission. That's a solid, reliable powertrain combination that's easy to maintain and has plenty of get up and go. The odometer shows 69,500 miles, which the seller suggests is likely original based on the vehicle's condition. This El Camino comes equipped with power steering and power brakes, making it much more enjoyable to drive than its manual everything counterparts. There's also a Flowmaster exhaust system, which probably gives this beauty a nice throaty sound that these classics deserve. The seller is pretty straightforward about the condition, stating it looks in person just like it does in the pictures, which is refreshingly honest. Being a southeastern vehicle, they specifically mention no rust issues, which is a huge plus for these old Chevys. At $17,900, while not cheap, the price seems in line for a clean '66 El Camino with desirable options and no rust issues. These vehicles have been steadily climbing in value, especially rust-free examples. However, as always with classics, you'll want to do a thorough inspection. Check the functionality of all systems, verify the condition of the drivetrain, and make sure everything works as it should. 9. We're looking at a 1978 Ford Bronco that's got some real character, and I appreciate the seller's honesty about this one. Let's dive into what we've got here. It's powered by a 351 engine, that's Ford's robust V8, paired with a 4-speed manual transmission, which is a desirable combo for these classic Broncos. With 79,000 miles showing, and being a California truck for most of its life, that's a good start for rust prevention. The seller is refreshingly honest about this Bronco's condition. They straight up tell us it's not a show truck, just a driver, and describe the paint as a 10-footer, meaning it looks good from 10 feet away. They also admit the seats need to be redone, which is good to know up front. It's got power steering and brakes, factory quad front shocks, and sits on newer wheels and tires with a lift kit. The removable top is a great feature for summer cruising. At $21,500, you're paying for a solid driver-quality Bronco that needs some interior work. These trucks have been skyrocketing in value lately, especially California examples. The lack of AC might be a deal-breaker for some, but that's pretty common for these older Broncos. You can tell the seller's attached to it with their "don't really want to sell it" comment, which often means it's been cared for despite its imperfections. The listing is straightforward about what you're getting. Not a perfect showpiece, but a lifted, running, driving classic Bronco with some character. 10. We're looking at a seriously impressive 1970 Ford F100 Custom that's got me pretty excited. And let me tell you why this $22,900 truck deserves attention. First off, we're talking about a short bed F100 that's still wearing its original factory paint. That's incredibly rare for a 53-year-old truck. The seller emphasizes zero rust or repairs, no Bondo, which is almost unheard of for these bump-side Fords. That alone makes this truck special. But what really gets my heart racing is what's under the hood. A 429 Thunderjet 4V big block V8 paired with a C6 automatic transmission, feeding power to the factory 9-inch rear end. That's a seriously potent combination. The exhaust setup includes Sorensen headers and a new 3 inches mandrel bent system, which probably makes this thing sound absolutely fantastic. The suspension setup is top-notch, featuring Stryker Custom Trucks drop beams, which are indeed highly regarded in the classic Ford truck community, and a professionally done C-notch rear with an axle flip. What's really cool is they managed to achieve the lowered stance without hacking up the bed. That's proper engineering right there. The list of new components is impressive. Suspension, brakes, steering box, radiator, and interior have all been refreshed. This isn't just a pretty face, it's been properly built from the ground up. At $22,900, while it might seem steep to some, you're getting a rust-free, original paint classic with thousands in quality upgrades already done. The seller makes a valid point. You could pay similar money for a stock example that still needs everything this truck already has. 11. We're looking at a 1980 Ford F-150 Custom that's got an interesting story to tell for $5,000. And I'm going to give you the straight scoop on this one. Let's start with the elephant in the room. It's got a salvage title, reason unknown, and the seller admits it's kind of rough cosmetically. But hold on, because there's more to this story that might interest you gearheads out there. Under the hood, this short bed stepside is running a 351 MV8, that's a 5.8L for you younger folks, paired with the sturdy C6 automatic transmission and Ford's bulletproof 9-inch rear end. But here's where it gets interesting. This truck has had a serious mechanical overhaul in the past year. The biggest upgrade is the Holley Sniper EFI system, which is a major improvement over the original carburetor setup. We're talking modern fuel injection with a new throttle body, injectors, fuel pump, and all the supporting hardware. Add in an Edelbrock intake manifold, fresh ignition components, new power steering pump, water pump, aluminum radiator. The list goes on. These aren't cheap parts. Someone's invested serious money in making this truck run right. At 150,000 miles, the cosmetic roughness and the salvage title, $5,000 might seem steep at first glance. But when you consider all the new performance parts under the hood, Holley EFI systems alone aren't cheap. You're essentially getting a mechanically modernized classic truck that just needs some TLC on the outside. 12. We're checking out a 1979 Chevy K5 Blazer that's listed for $22,500. And these classics are getting harder to find in good condition. The seller's description is pretty brief, but let's break down what we know. This Blazer comes in black, and they're specifically mentioning it's rust-free with a straight body. That's a big deal for these old K5S, as they were notorious rust magnets. It's packing a V8, though they don't specify which one, could be a 305, 350, or 400, paired with an automatic transmission. The interior is described as nice, and it's riding on new US Mags wheels with fresh tires, which definitely adds to the appeal. The seller mentions it's just been tuned up and runs like a champ, which is good to hear. At $22,500, we're definitely in the territory where you'd want to do a thorough inspection. While K5 Blazer prices have been climbing steadily, you'll want to verify all the seller's claims about the body condition and mechanical health. The brief description leaves a lot of questions unanswered, like which V8 it has, the mileage, whether it's got the removable top, and what kind of maintenance history comes with it. These 79 K5S are desirable because they represent the last year of the full convertible body style, before Chevy switched to the half-cab design in 1980. If this one's as clean as described, with no rust and good mechanicals, the price could be justified in today's market. 13. We're looking at a 1978 Chevy K2504X4, and I really appreciate the seller's honesty about this classic truck priced at $9,000. Let's dive into what we've got here. It's a long bed K2500 powered by a 350C V8, paired with the legendary SM465 4-speed manual transmission. That SM465 is one of the toughest manual transmissions ever put in a truck, so that's definitely a plus. The odometer shows 40,000 miles, but the seller's upfront about it having rolled over. I love how straightforward the seller is about both the good and bad. On the positive side, the 4WD system works great, the brakes are solid, and the tires have 85% tread left. The running gear is described as solid, and the engine and transmission are performing well. Now let's talk about the issues, and kudos to the seller for being transparent. There's legitimate rust, cancer type, in the driver's door bottom and center of the bed that needs attention. The clutch might need replacement soon, and the chassis could use some bushing work. However, the seller's confidence in the truck's ability to drive cross-country speaks volumes about its overall mechanical condition. At $9,000, and they're open to offers, you're looking at a solid work truck that needs some TLC but isn't hiding any secrets. The seller even mentions they'll repaint it and relist it if it doesn't sell, which suggests they're committed to improving it either way. 14. We're looking at a 1971 Ford F-250 that's listed for $10,000, and let's break down what makes this classic work truck interesting. The seller has clearly put some serious effort into the mechanical aspects of this truck. We're looking at a long list of new parts: brakes, radiator and hoses, battery and cables, carburetor, starter, ignition system, and choke. That's a substantial amount of recent maintenance that gives you some peace of mind about the truck's running condition. Now let's be real here. While the seller marks the condition as excellent, they're honest enough to admit it needs paint and finish restoration. With 200,000 miles on the clock, this is clearly a truck that's lived a full life. They don't specify which engine it's running, just marking it as other in the cylinders category, which is something you'd want to verify. The good news is they say it runs great with no leaks and is tow-ready, though it might need some new shocks. The body parts are described as original, which could be both good and bad. Good for authenticity, but potentially challenging if there's any rust or damage to deal with. At $10,000, you're looking at a mechanically refreshed classic truck that needs cosmetic attention. This could be perfect for someone who wants a solid working classic that they can gradually pretty up while still using it. The fact that it's tow-ready suggests the drivetrain is in decent shape. 15. We're looking at a 1972 GMC pickup that's listed for $8,500. And I'll be straight with you. This listing is pretty bare bones on details. What we do know is that it's packing a 5.7 LV8, that's a 350 cubic inch for you old school folks, which the seller describes as very powerful, and they mention it runs great. It's got brand new tires, which is always a nice bonus, as that's not a cheap upgrade these days. The seller admits this was meant to be a restoration project, but they've got too many other projects going on. That's a pretty common story in the classic car world. While they rate the condition as good, there's a lot left unsaid here. We don't know the mileage, body condition, interior state, or whether there's any rust, which these old GMCs were known for. At $8,500, you're in the territory where you'd want a lot more information before making a move. These early 70s GMC trucks are gaining popularity among collectors, but condition is everything. The price could be fair if it's solid and rust-free, but you definitely want to do a thorough inspection. Without more details about the truck's condition, maintenance history, or specific issues, I'd strongly recommend seeing this one in person. Check all the usual trouble spots: cab corners, rocker panels, bed floors, frame rails, and make sure that 350 is as strong as they suggest. This could be a good starting point for someone looking to get into classic trucks, but make sure to do your due diligence, given the limited information provided in the listing. 16. We're looking at a 1984 Ford Ranger that's clearly been someone's pride and joy for the past 5 years, listed at $7,000. And wow, this owner has kept some detailed records. This is a 6-cylinder, rear-wheel drive Ranger that's had pretty much everything but the kitchen sink replaced or upgraded. The seller's extensive list of improvements is actually impressive, and you can tell this truck has been meticulously maintained. We're talking about a complete mechanical overhaul: new alternator, radiator, brake system components, Monroe shocks, coil springs, and the list goes on. The upgrades aren't just mechanical either. It's got off-road lights, new LED lighting all around, chrome bumpers, and a Badland ZXR 3500 winch. The bed's been recently treated with Herculiner bed liner just 3 months ago, and it's sitting on new off-road tires, Ecovision 6186 MT. At 128,635 miles, what's really catching my attention is how thorough the maintenance has been. From basic items like spark plugs and transmission fluid to comfort upgrades like a new heater core and safety belts, this owner hasn't cut corners. The seller's honesty about why they're selling, looking for something more comfortable at age 62, adds credibility to the story. When they say they get thumbs up and compliments everywhere, I believe it. These first-gen Rangers in good condition are becoming increasingly rare. 17. We're looking at a 1968 Chevy pickup listed for $19,500. And let me clear something up right away. The seller calls it a Silverado, but that name wasn't actually used until 1975, so this would have been a CK series truck. This Blue Beauty is a 4x4 with a freshly rebuilt V8, though they don't specify which one, paired with the classic 3-on-the-tree manual transmission that's gotten some love with new seals and a fresh clutch. That's actually a pretty cool setup for these old trucks, though it takes some getting used to if you've never driven one. The odometer shows 9,000 miles, which is likely after a rollover or reset following restoration work, as these trucks are well over 50 years old now. Some nice upgrades include front disc brakes and power steering, which make this classic much more manageable in modern traffic. The seller's being pretty straightforward, calling it a great project or weekend cruiser as is, which suggests it's not perfect, but definitely drivable. They emphasize its reliability, noting it starts every time, cold or hot, which is always good to hear with a classic. At $19,500, we're in serious classic truck territory here. The description is pretty brief, leaving a lot of questions unanswered about body condition, rust, these were prone to it, interior condition, and the specifics of that fresh V8 build. You'd definitely want to inspect all the usual trouble spots: cab corners, floor pans, bed, and frame rails. 18. We've got a real blast from the past to check out. A 1971 Ford Camper Special that's looking for a new home. This classic beauty is up for grabs on Craigslist for just $2,500. But let's be real, it's gonna need some serious TLC to get it back to its former glory. Now, I gotta be straight with you guys. The seller themselves admits that this camper is in fair condition, which is probably a polite way of saying it's seen better days. The odometer reading is a mystery too, since it rolls over every 100,000 miles. For all we know, this baby could have traveled to the moon and back. But hey, if you're the kind of person who loves a good project and isn't afraid to get your hands dirty, this could be the perfect opportunity. The seller originally bought this truck with big plans to remodel it, but life got in the way, and now they've got to let it go. Under the hood, you'll find a gas-powered engine that might need some attention to get it purring like a kitten again. The automatic transmission should make it a breeze to drive once you get it up and running. The exterior is rocking a classic green paint job that's probably seen its fair share of adventures. It might not be winning any beauty contests right now, but with a little elbow grease and some imagination, you could really make this camper shine. So, if you're ready to take on a project and give this 1971 Ford Camper Special the love it deserves, head on over to Craigslist and check it out. Who knows, you might just drive away with a piece of automotive history that's ready for its next chapter. 19. We've got a real treat for you. A 1985 Ford Econoline E250 cargo van that's ready to roll. This classic workhorse is up for grabs on Craigslist for just $3,250, and let me tell you, it's got some serious potential. First off, can we talk about that mileage? With only 98,000 miles on the odometer, this van is just getting started. It's powered by a beefy 5.0 LV8 engine with a 2-barrel carburetor, which was rebuilt just a few thousand miles ago. And with an automatic transmission and 2 fuel tanks, you'll be able to tackle any job without breaking a sweat. Now, I know what you might be thinking. A van this old has got to have some issues, right? Well, the seller is upfront about a slight oil drip, but they assure us it's nothing major. And with recent brake work and tires that still have plenty of tread left, this van is ready to hit the road. Inside, you'll find a spacious cargo area that's perfect for hauling gear, tools, or whatever else you need to get the job done. And when the temperature drops, you'll appreciate the heater that works like a charm. But here's the best part. This van comes with a clean title and current tags and registration. That means no hassle, no headaches. Just turn the key and go. The seller is pretty firm on the price, and they're not interested in any trades. But honestly, with a reliable classic like this, why would you want to trade it for anything else? 20. Get ready to feast your eyes on a true beauty. a 1972 Chevrolet El Camino that's sure to make your heart race. This stunning ride is up for grabs on Craigslist for a cool $30,000, and let me tell you, it's worth every penny. First off, can we just take a moment to appreciate the condition of this El Camino? The seller describes it as like new, and from the looks of it, they're not exaggerating. With only 71,000 miles on the odometer, this baby has been well loved and cared for over the years. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful 350/430ths GP crate engine that's ready to roar. Paired with a smooth shifting 700 R4 transmission and rear-wheel drive, this El Camino is built for performance. And with bare disc brakes and anti-sway bars, you'll have no problem keeping this beast under control. But it's not just about the power. This El Camino is a looker too. The blue paint job is absolutely stunning, and the new vinyl top with custom V8 emblem stitching adds a touch of class. The Nudnik wheels and new billet grille give it a modern, aggressive look that's sure to turn heads wherever you go. Inside, you'll find Recaro bucket seats that have been newly upholstered in luxurious leather. The new console conversion kit shifter and Lecara steering wheel add to the sporty, high-end feel of the interior. And with a new battery and vacuum pump, you know this El Camino is ready to hit the road. But here's the best part. This beauty comes with a clean title and is registered until May 2024. And because it's a classic, there's no smog check required. That means you can enjoy this ride without any hassle or headaches.